Hello and welcome back to my channel. In my first video on symbiotic autoethnography, I defined what symbiotic autoethnography is and briefly described its 7 features as applicable to autoethnographic research. In my second video, I tried to answer your questions about autoethnography and also about the ways of collecting autoethnographic data. Now, so in this video, I will be answering another one of your questions that I have received in response to my first 2 videos. What is data in autoethnography? Naturally, this is the very first question that arises when talking about working with autoethnographic data. What is considered as data in autoethnography? And the answer to this question is paradoxically both simple and complex. In autoethnography, everything is regarded as data. And indeed, as Ellis and Bochner confirm, in autoethnography, where the researcher is the subject, the researcher's interpretation of the experiences becomes the data. And this means that when it comes to autoethnographic research, what counts as data expands greatly, creating for the researchers the difficulty of representing, presenting, analyzing their own experiences as data. So a particular complexity of working with autoethnographic data involves researchers combining, juxtaposing and manipulating various fragments of data, whilst being omnipresent across all the experiences through times and spaces, as I describe in my symbiotic approach to autoethnography. So this slide illustrates the complexity of working with autoethnographic data in a way where the boundaries between traditional and what Elizabeth St. Pierre describes as out-of-category forms of data become blurred to the point at which the sources of data cannot be positively determined or predefined. In contrast, the data pool here incorporates researchers' emotions, feelings, bodily senses captured in the act of writing, where the fragments of data intertwine, collide, and merge with each other in an intricate and at times unexpected and even uncomfortable way. So the nature of autoethnographic data brings autoethnographic approach into a close connection with the concept of embodiment. So when working with autoethnographic data, researchers see and represent their body almost as a canvas that bears the markings of the cultural phenomena under study. The markings that are often fragmented, contradictory, perplexing, incoherent, but nevertheless based on their real lived experiences. In this sense, the embodied nature of autoethnographic data can contribute to the political thrust of our research studies, where the researchers' actual material bodies become central for a praxis-oriented social justice autoethnography. So indeed, if we accept that autoethnography draws attention to embodied ways of exploring the world, then lived experiences of the bodies can be used to connect researchers as the agents of knowledge production to their experiences of social power, oppression, injustice, inequality, domination. This way, individual experiences of the body become fragments of the data that is embedded in the political focus of autoethnography, which is one of the essential features of my symbiotic approach to autoethnography. And that enables researchers to bring to the surface concealed underlying issues of oppressive, discriminatory social structures, and to call for action towards positive societal change. So to summarize, this part of our discussion is about embodiment, and embodiment in autoethnography is the exploration of the researcher's lived experiences as felt through their bodies, whilst our reflections on these bodily experiences become our autoethnographic data. So, in my previous video, I mentioned that conventional methods of data collection need to be reconsidered in the context of autoethnography, with a focus on discerning rather than collecting data, where discerning is understood as a process of imaginative and creative techniques of recognizing relevant and potentially valuable fragments of experiences within the complex fabric of researchers' life journey that could actually potentially contribute to better understanding of the cultural phenomena under study. This process offers limitless possibilities in the choice of data sources, making it possible to discern data not obtainable through more traditional ways of data collection. And yet, it also brings about challenges of selecting a specific selection of data from the multiplicity of filed nodes that might include, but are not limited to, memories, feelings, our experiences, our dreams, photographs, various memorabilia, records of interviews with participants, entries from reflexive journals and diaries, as well as researchers' reflections on relevant literature and theoretical perspectives, as you will see on the next slide. So to make the process of discerning all the data more manageable, it might be useful to distinguish two symbiotically connected layers of what might be considered as first, possible sources of data, and you can see that as the gray shaded area in the middle of the diagram. And the second, more tangible forms data discerned from these sources, and these are presented in gray text boxes on the diagram on the slide below. So even though the boundaries between these two will always remain blurred, and the categories within them will be always fluid and overlapping. So despite the attempt to somehow streamline the process of discerning the data, the fragments of data often what I call leak into each other, mixing real with imaginary, rational with emotional, temporal with spatial, and personal with political, creating this kind of symbiosis of fluid and intertwining data fragments. In such complex symbiosis of data, words, both written and spoken, almost lose their dominance, giving way to our memories, emotions, dreams, feelings, sounds, and even silences. Acknowledging this complexity, along with recognizing the ineptness of language, really, as language instruments for communicating evocative nuances of the data, present one of the key tasks of autoethnographers in the context of this approach. So let's have a closer look at some specific examples of autoethnographic data that my students find particularly challenging to examine. And we will start with the most controversial one, which is dreams. Now, I argue that in the context of autoethnographic data, even dreams can be considered significant if they somehow influence the researcher's interpretation of events, experiences, and lines of thinking. Elizabeth St. Pierre, for example, also suggests that dream data is another form of transgressive data. She goes on as far as questioning whether dreaming can actually be named as a method of data collection, arguing that dreams cannot be discounted as a form of data, as the latter add another layer of depth to researchers' analytical efforts. So indeed, if we think in autoethnography, dreams represent a justifiable source of data as they influence, whether consciously or subconsciously, our perceptions of the world with all its social, cultural, and political controversies, disparities, and problems, then indeed we have to admit that dreams can be considered as a way of data collection or as parts of the data that we use in our autoethnographic writing. So our what we call now dream data does more than simply mirror our daytime experiences. It really represents an activity that affects researchers' lives, decisions, our thinking. Thus, in my symbiotic approach to autoethnographic writing, the process of discerning data shifts from what we call hard data to a symbiosis of dreams, events, memories, times, and spaces, with a focus on the researcher's attempts to understand better a specific cultural phenomena. So the next one that I want to talk to you about is another non-traditional category that is vital in the process of discerning data, and it is related to our memories and memory work. Using memories in research studies has been appreciated over the years by a number of theorists and researchers. For example, if we think about Jerome Bruner, Hee-Won Chang, Bochner and Adams, just to name that just a few. So in autoethnography, memories elicited from our past in the moment of writing, or what I call present past, allow alternative histories and marginal accounts to be uncovered and reconstructed in specific social and cultural contexts. It is important to know that our memories of highly emotional experiences and events are not necessarily accurate, even though we might think so. We sometimes feel that every detail and even the visual appearance of the situation are forever ingrained in our memory. In fact, this cannot be. Thus, taking notes about feelings and emotions is an important part of practice for researchers, as it will support their memory accounts in later stages of research. And yet, even though these efforts might help some researchers in discerning their memory data, in symbiotic autoethnography, the focus is on the researcher's acknowledgement that their memories are presented as data in the way they are remembered today. And not only today, but in the moment of writing. Thus, discerning memory data in the context of symbiotic approach is not about the attempts to classify this data or to verify its accuracy. Rather, it is about recognizing pertinent memory fragments within the researcher's life journey as remembered and captured in the moment of writing, and also in symbiosis with the researcher's reflexivity and their interpretative analysis. So in this sense, the production of autobiographical memories can be seen as an ongoing process of knowledge production, where the capacity of our memory work to bring back to life some significant events can actually provide us with new understanding of the cultural phenomena under study, merging symbiotically with further understandings as we engage with other people's stories, entering and adjusting, rapturing, or balancing our own recollections. So writing about these merged present memories of the past is never really an easy task, as words always try to escape the impermanence and immutability of our thoughts, as for example noted by Bochner. When we attempt to fit language to our experiences, we encounter the process of transforming our original experience into something else, something remembered. Well, if you're interested in this topic, let me know in your comments and messages, and we will continue the discussion about other forms of autoethnographic data in my next video. So please continue to message me and provide comments and questions so that I can answer all this in my next videos. Thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you again soon on my channel.